Have you ever watched someone perform toughness? The raised voice that cracks slightly at the edges, the puffed chest, the threats that land like wet paper. And you're standing there, not trembling, not backing down, just thinking, does he actually believe this is working? You've seen him. The boss who yells because he can't lead. The colleague who slams his fist on the table because he can't construct an argument. The guy at the bar, the gym, the family gathering who mistakes volume for authority. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you're not feeling fear. You're feeling something else. Exhaustion, maybe pity, definitely boredom, because you've seen this performance before. And once you see it for what it is, you can never unsee it. Here's what Niccolo Machiavelli understood 500 years ago that most people still miss today. People who act tough are revealing weakness, not strength. And intelligent people, the ones who've studied the psychology of tough guys who understand real power, they see this immediately. Machiavelli spent his life in Renaissance Italy studying power. Not the fairy tale version. Not the version they teach you in school about honor and noble knights. Real power. The kind that topples governments, ends dynasties, changes history. And in his observations captured in works like The Prince, he discovered something crucial. True power is silent, strategic, invisible, until the moment it's deployed. Fake power. It announces itself constantly. It performs endlessly. It desperately needs you to acknowledge it. Think about the people in your life right now. The aggressive ones. The ones who need everyone to know how tough they are. Your boss who intimidates instead of inspires. Your colleague who bulldozes instead of collaborates. That guy in your extended family who turns every gathering into a dominance display. Notice what they all have in common: exhaustion. Not your exhaustion watching them, though that's real too. Their exhaustion. The constant energy expenditure required to maintain the performance. The vigilance needed to ensure everyone stays intimidated. The brittleness that comes from building your entire identity on a facade. This is the first truth smart people understand. The performance itself is the weakness. The person yelling at you in a meeting isn't demonstrating strength. They're demonstrating that volume is their only tool. The boss who rules through fear isn't showing dominance. They're showing they lack the competence to lead through actual merit. The guy constantly reminding you how tough he is. He's advertising insecurity. Real toughness doesn't need advertisement. Real power doesn't need performance. You know this already somewhere deep. You've probably known it since you were a child watching playground bullies. But you were taught to fear aggression anyway, to respect loud voices, to submit to people who act dangerous. That conditioning is the enemy, not the aggressive person. They're just sad, really. The enemy is the lie you were sold, that aggression equals power, that intimidation equals authority, that fear equals respect. Most people buy this lie completely. They react in one of two ways when confronted with aggressive behavior. They submit, they apologize, back down, give the aggressive person what they want. Or they match the aggression, they yell back, escalate, turn the interaction into a dominance contest. Both responses are losses. Both prove you don't understand the real game. Because here's what Machiavelli would tell you. What centuries of observing power dynamics confirms: the moment you react emotionally to someone's performance of toughness, they've won. Not because they're actually powerful, but because they've controlled your response. They've made you play their game, and their game is the only game they know how to play. Let me take you back to Renaissance Italy, 1502. Cesare Borgia has just conquered the Romagna region through spectacular brutality, public executions, displays of severed heads, theatrical demonstrations of cruelty designed to inspire absolute terror. The neighboring princes watched this and thought, This is power. This is how you control people. Machiavelli watched it too, but he saw something different. He saw a man compensating, a man using brutality as a substitute for legitimacy, a man whose power rested entirely on the fear he could generate in this moment, not on stable structures that would outlast him. Within 5 years, Cesare Borgia had lost everything. His territories, his army, his freedom, eventually his life. Meanwhile, the princes you've never heard of, the ones who ruled quietly, strategically, without spectacle, many of them held power for decades. Their children inherited stable states. Their names are forgotten precisely because they didn't need to be remembered. They didn't need legend. They had something better: effectiveness. This is the pattern Machiavelli observed throughout his career in Florentine politics. And it's the same pattern you can observe today in every boardroom, every social group, every family dynamic. The people who perform toughness are running on borrowed time. The people who build actual capability last. But why? What's the mechanism? Why does aggressive performance ultimately fail while quiet competence succeeds? Let's break it down. The surface problem is obvious. You're dealing with someone aggressive, someone who yells, threatens, intimidates, dominates conversations, makes you feel unsafe or uncomfortable. But dig deeper. What's the hidden mechanism that aggressive person is operating from absence, not abundance? They lack alternative tools. Think about it strategically the way Machiavelli would. If you're intelligent, you have multiple paths to achieve your goals. Logic, persuasion, strategic thinking, long-term planning, relationship building, coalition formation. If you're competent in your field, you create actual value. People want what you offer. You don't need to force them. They come to you. If you're psychologically secure, you don't require constant validation. Your self-worth comes from internal assessment, from knowing your capabilities, not from external submission. But if you lack these things, if you're not intelligent enough for multi-layered strategy, not competent enough to create genuine value, not secure enough to exist without constant dominance, displays, then aggression becomes your only tool. This is Machiavelli advice distilled to its essence. Always ask what someone's behavior reveals about their limitations. The person acting tough is telling you exactly one thing. This is all I have. Now, who benefits from this dynamic? Not the aggressive person, certainly. They're accumulating enemies with every interaction. They're burning bridges. They're ensuring that the moment they show weakness, everyone they've intimidated will remember. No, the people who benefit are the ones who see through it. The ones who understand the psychology of tough guys well enough to remain unmoved. The ones building actual power relationships, skills, strategic position, while the aggressive person wastes energy on theater. But here's the crucial question. If this is so obvious, why do you still react to it? Why does aggressive behavior still trigger something in you? Because you're human. Because millions of years of evolution taught your ancestors that aggressive displays signaled danger. The human who ignored the growling predator didn't pass on their genes. Your nervous system is wired to respond to aggression with fight, flight, or freeze. This is the psychological trap. Your biology hijacks your intelligence. The moment someone yells or threatens, your amygdala activates before your prefrontal cortex can intervene. You feel fear or anger before you can think strategically. The aggressive person isn't smart enough to know this is happening. They're just doing what works on an instinctual level. But the effect is the same. They trigger your emotional response, and in that moment of emotion, you're not thinking clearly. You're not being strategic. You're being controlled. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." The person acting tough is running a deception. A simple one, really. They're hoping you'll mistake their performance for capability. And it works on most people, because most people respond emotionally rather than analytically. Someone yells, they feel intimidated. Someone threatens, they feel afraid. Someone postures, they feel outmatched. But the intelligent person, the one who's internalized these smart people tips about power dynamics, they see through it immediately. They recognize. This person is using aggression because they have nothing else. And this recognition changes everything. Because once you understand someone's only tool is intimidation, you know exactly how to neutralize them. Don't respond emotionally. Don't match their aggression. Don't submit to their performance. Just remain calm, strategic, unmoved by the theater, and watch them realize their only weapon is useless against you. In Chapter 18 of The Prince, Machiavelli lays out one of his most famous observations. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This single sentence unlocks the entire game of power. Appearance and reality are different things, and most people live entirely in the realm of appearance. They mistake the performance for the substance. They see someone acting tough and assume toughness. They see someone acting confident and assume competence. They see someone acting authoritative and assume authority. This is exactly backward. Machiavelli understood, and this is the core of his advice on power, that successful people master the gap between appearance and reality. They understand that what people see is often irrelevant to what actually is. The person constantly proving their toughness is all appearance, no reality. Real power operates quietly. Think about actual powerful people you've known or read about. The truly dangerous CEO doesn't yell in meetings, doesn't need to. One quiet word delivered with absolute certainty changes everything. The genuinely formidable person doesn't threaten, doesn't advertise. Their capability is obvious without performance, evident in their track record, visible in how others defer to them without being forced. The actually intelligent leader doesn't constantly prove their intelligence. It's self-evident in the quality of their decisions, the accuracy of their predictions, the effectiveness of their strategies. This is why smart people tips always emphasize substance over show. Because substance compounds, performance exhausts. Now here's why this principle is so counterintuitive, why it goes against everything society teaches you. We're culturally conditioned to respect aggression, to interpret loud as strong and quiet as weak, to assume the person dominating the conversation must be the most competent, to believe that fear equals respect. This conditioning serves the people who lack actual capability. It's the lie they need you to believe for their performance to work. But look at reality, not at what people say, at what actually happens. In business, the executives who scream and throw things are rarely the ones who build lasting companies. They might have moments of success. Fear can drive short-term compliance, but they don't create organizations that outlast them. The quiet strategists do. The ones building systems, developing talent, thinking 5 years ahead, while the aggressive person is focused on dominating today's meeting. In relationships, the person who rules through intimidation doesn't have loyalty. They have hostages. The moment a better option appears, everyone leaves. The person who builds genuine respect through fairness and competence. People follow them through hardship. In conflicts, the person who constantly threatens rarely follows through. Because threats are a substitute for action, not a prelude to it. The person who acts decisively without warning, without performance, that's who you should actually fear. This brings us to Machiavelli's second relevant principle, the lion and the fox. He wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. Most people think this means you need to be tough sometimes and cunning other times. That's the surface reading. The deeper truth: the person acting tough is pretending to be a lion. All roar, no teeth. They've chosen the performance of strength over the development of actual capability. The intelligent person is the fox. They recognize the trap of engagement. They see that responding to the performance, either by matching it or submitting to it, is the trap itself. The fox doesn't fight the lion's roar. The fox goes around it, under it, through different terrain entirely. The fox changes the game. This is self-mastery at its core. Controlling your response to external stimuli, not letting someone else's performance dictate your strategy. The uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to hear. People who rely on aggressive behavior are almost always incompetent at everything else. That's not an insult. It's an observation. Aggression is the tool of last resort. It's what you use when you can't persuade, through logic, can't inspire, through vision, can't lead through competence, can't influence through relationship. Machiavelli would look at modern aggressive behavior and see massive strategic liability. Here's why. First, it reveals your limits. When you act tough, you're showing everyone your maximum capability. You're advertising, "This is as dangerous as I get." Volume and threats. The intelligent person never shows their full capability. They remain strategically ambiguous. You don't know what they're capable of, and that uncertainty is more powerful than any display. Second, it creates unnecessary enemies. Every person you intimidate becomes someone waiting for an opportunity to undermine you. Machiavelli understood that making enemies is sometimes necessary, but making unnecessary enemies through aggressive performance is strategically stupid. Third, it prevents strategic thinking. Aggression is reactive, not strategic. The person acting tough is operating emotionally focused on the immediate dominating this conversation, winning this argument, proving themselves in this moment. Meanwhile, the intelligent person is thinking, how does this interaction serve my long-term goals? What do I actually need from this person? What's the most efficient path to my objective? Often the answer doesn't involve any aggression at all. This is the principle that transforms how you see power. Real capability doesn't need announcement. The moment someone needs to convince you they're powerful, they've revealed they're not. Now we get to the part you actually care about. How exactly do you deal with these people? What do you do when someone tries to intimidate you? Machiavelli offers several strategic approaches, each one devastatingly effective because it refuses to play the game. The aggressive person needs you to play. Tactic 1. The mirror. Don't react to their performance. Simply reflect it back without emotion. Here's how this works. Someone yells at you about a deadline. Their face is red. Their voice is raised. They're leaning into your space. They want you scared or defensive. Instead, you remain completely calm. You don't match their volume. You don't back away. You don't apologize. You simply say in a normal tone, "I hear you're frustrated about the timeline. Let's review the actual schedule after this meeting." You've just done something devastating. You've acknowledged their content while completely ignoring their performance. You've treated their aggression as irrelevant noise. Watch what happens. They have 3 options. Option 1, escalate further. Start actually yelling. Maybe threaten consequences. But now they look unhinged. Everyone watching sees someone losing control while you remain composed. They've exposed themselves as unreasonable. Option 2. Back down. Lower their voice. Engage with the actual content. But now they've lost. Their performance didn't work. Their intimidation failed. Everyone saw it. Option 3. Keep performing at the same level, hoping you'll eventually crack. But you won't. And every second you remain calm while they're aggressive, the contrast becomes more obvious. They're digging their own grave. This is why the mirror tactic is so powerful. It requires nothing from you except composure. You're not arguing. You're not defending. You're not submitting. You're just not playing their game. Real scenario. Your colleague tries to take credit for your work in a meeting, getting aggressive when you attempt to clarify. Raises his voice. I led this project. You were just support. Your response calm and factual. I have the project documentation showing task assignments. We can review it after this meeting if there's confusion about roles. No emotion. No counter-accusation. Just facts delivered calmly. You've just called his bluff without seeming aggressive yourself. This is personal development at the tactical level. Self-improvement isn't about becoming nicer or more agreeable. It's about becoming unshakable. Tactic 2. Strategic retreat. Sometimes the most intelligent response to aggression is walking away. Not from fear, from strategy. Machiavelli understood that not every battle is worth fighting. Some conflicts don't serve your interests. Some performances don't deserve an audience. Here's what this looks like. Your boss is yelling at you about something trivial, report formatting, meeting attendance, something that doesn't actually matter. You let them get about 30 seconds into the rant. Then you interrupt calmly. I'm not having this conversation while you're yelling. Let me know when you're ready to discuss specifics normally. And you leave, not storming out, not slamming doors, just calmly exiting the space. This is devastating for several reasons. First, you've refused to participate in their performance. They needed an audience, preferably a cowering one. You've declined to provide that. Second, you've dictated the terms of engagement. You've said, we can have this conversation, but on my terms, respectfully, rationally. Third, you've demonstrated their aggression has no power over you. You're not scared enough to stay and take it. You're not angry enough to escalate. You're just done with the performance. The objection, you're probably thinking, won't this make them angrier? Yes, temporarily. They'll be furious that their performance didn't work. But here's the thing now, they're angry and ineffective. Their anger has no target, no audience, no power. And eventually, they have to decide. Keep performing to an empty room or engage on your terms. Either way, you win. 3. The judo move. This is where it gets fun. Machiavelli was a master of using an opponent's force against them. The judo move is giving the aggressive person something they didn't expect. Someone's yelling at you aggressively. You respond with genuine curiosity. You seem really upset. What's actually bothering you? Someone's trying to intimidate you, physically getting in your space. You respond with friendly concern. Hey, you okay? You seem really tense. Someone's dominating a conversation with aggressive certainty about politics or business. You respond with sincere inquiry. That's interesting. What personal experience led you to that conclusion? Watch what happens. They were prepared for fear or counter-aggression. They were ready for you to either submit or fight back. They were not ready for calm, strategic engagement that treats their performance as irrelevant and focuses on potential actual substance. Most people who rely on intimidation have no backup plan. They're so committed to the performance that they can't pivot to actual conversation. They're like actors who only know one scene. So they either have to keep performing, which now looks absurd next to your genuine inquiry, or they have to engage substantively, which they're usually incapable of doing well. Real scenario. Someone at a social gathering is getting loud and aggressive about their political views, clearly trying to dominate and intimidate. Your move. I can tell you care deeply about this. I'm curious, when did you first start thinking about these issues? Was there a specific moment that shaped your perspective? You've just completely changed the frame. They wanted dominance. You're offering dialogue. They wanted to intimidate. You're showing interest. They can't maintain the aggressive performance in response to genuine curiosity without looking like an asshole. This is Machiavelli daily wisdom. Use the opponent's force against them. Let their aggression expose them. Tactic 4. Make them irrelevant. This is the ultimate strategy, the most Machiavellian, the most effective, strategic maneuvering that makes their behavior completely meaningless to your objectives. Stop trying to win against them. Stop trying to defend against them. Stop trying to change them. Just root around them. Your aggressive colleague tries to undermine you in meetings. You stop caring about meetings. You build direct relationships with decision makers. You position yourself for projects that don't involve that colleague. You make yourself so valuable that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Your boss rules through intimidation. You stop trying to gain their approval. You document everything for liability protection. You quietly build relationships with their peers or superiors. You develop your exit strategy, either a transfer or external opportunity. That aggressive person in your personal life who demands attention through intimidation. You don't fight them. You don't argue. You just gradually reduce their access to you. Fewer calls answered. More "I'm busy" responses. Less availability, until they're essentially absent from your life. This is the ultimate power move. Not defeating them in confrontation, making confrontation unnecessary. They're focused on performance. You're focused on outcomes. They're trying to dominate the immediate interaction. You're building the structure that makes them unnecessary to your success. They're playing checkers. You're playing chess. Real scenario department head constantly undermines you with aggressive commentary and intimidation tactics in team settings. Your move. Stop trying to win in those settings. Quietly document your work. Build alliance with their superior. Position yourself for a lateral move or promotion that bypasses them entirely. 6 months later, you're in a new role with better opportunities, and they're still performing for an audience that's shrinking. This is success mindset at its most sophisticated. Success isn't about winning every battle. It's about rendering battles unnecessary. You're going to feel uncomfortable implementing these strategies. I need to tell you this up front, because you've been conditioned your entire life to believe that not reacting to aggression means you're weak. That walking away means you're a coward. That staying calm means you're passive. This is the trap. This is the final lie you need to reject. You're not being weak. You're being strategic. You're not being passive. You're being selective about where you deploy your energy. You're not avoiding conflict. You're choosing which conflicts actually matter. Here's the identity shift you need to make right now, permanently. Stop trying to be a good person in these situations. Start being an effective person. Good people match aggression or appease it. They do what feels morally comfortable in the moment. They worry about whether they're being nice enough or strong enough. Effective people make aggression irrelevant. They focus on outcomes, not performances. They ask, what do I actually need from this situation? Not, how do I prove I'm not afraid? This is the internal revolution Machiavelli calls for. Not a change in your external behavior, though that will follow. A change in how you think about power itself. Starting now, when someone acts tough around you, your internal monologue should shift. Don't ask, how do I defend myself? Ask, why are they revealing weakness? Don't think, I need to prove I'm not afraid. Think, what do I actually need from this situation, and does engaging with their performance serve that need? Don't react. Analyze. Position. Win. Because here's what Machiavelli learned from years studying power. what every effective person eventually discovers. The person who needs to act powerful is already losing. Real power doesn't require announcement. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't demand recognition. It just is. Quiet, stable, effective. The person yelling at you. They're not demonstrating strength. They're demonstrating that yelling is all they have. The person threatening you, they're not showing capability. They're showing that threats are their only tool. The person constantly reminding everyone how tough they are, they're not advertising power, they're advertising insecurity. And once you see this clearly, once you really internalize it, aggressive behavior stops being intimidating. It becomes almost sad. Like watching someone perform a magic trick after you've learned how it's done. You see the mechanism. You see the desperate need for validation. You see the absence of better options. You see the weakness disguised as strength. And you feel something surprising, not contempt exactly. Not pity. Something closer to freedom. Because you're free now. Free from needing to react. Free from needing to prove anything. Free from playing a game you never needed to play. Tomorrow someone will try to intimidate you. Maybe your boss, maybe a colleague, maybe some stranger who needs to feel dominant. And you're going to feel that old impulse to either submit or fight back. Stop. Breathe. Remember what you now know. You're not dealing with strength. You're dealing with someone who has run out of better options. Someone whose only tool is performance. Someone who needs you to play their game because they can't play any other. Stay calm. Stay strategic. Stay focused on your actual objectives, and let them exhaust themselves performing for an audience that stopped watching the moment you stopped playing. This is Machiavelli's lesson, as relevant now as it was 5 centuries ago. True power doesn't need to act tough. It doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't need your fear or your submission or your acknowledgement. It just needs to be smart, patient, strategic, and watch how the world rearranges itself around you when you stop reacting and start positioning. When you stop playing their game and start playing yours. When you stop trying to outsmart idiots and simply root around them entirely. Because that's the final truth. You don't defeat aggressive people by out-aggressing them. You defeat them by making their aggression irrelevant to your success. So tell me, are you going to keep reacting to performances? Or are you finally ready to see the strings they don't even know they're tangled in? The choice was always yours. You just forgot you could choose. Now you remember. Now you're free. Now you're powerful. Not because you learned to act tough, but because you learned something better. You learned to see clearly. And in the kingdom of the blind, the person who sees wins everything.